Hello. Today General Hospital will reveal Kirsten Storms' abrupt decision to leave General Hospital and relocate from Los Angeles to Tennessee with her young daughter Harper sent shockwaves through the soap opera community and beyond. For fans who had grown accustomed to seeing Storms embody Maxie Jones, a role she made iconic over the past 2 decades, her sudden departure sparked a tidal wave of speculation and emotional responses. While Kirsten herself maintained that the move was purely a personal choice intended to provide a better environment for her daughter, the ambiguity of her explanation and the timing of the move, particularly in relation to her ex-husband Brandon Barish's current life, ignited a storm of rumors, conjecture, and behind-the-scenes theories that have yet to die down. What seemed, on the surface, like a peaceful transition for a mother and daughter quickly morphed into one of the most talked-about off-screen dramas in daytime television history. In the Instagram video where she first shared her plans, Kirsten appeared calm and optimistic, painting the relocation as a fresh start and a step toward giving Harper a quieter, more grounded upbringing away from the relentless pace of Hollywood. She expressed gratitude to her fans for their support and even hinted at a possible, albeit brief, return to GH later in the year. However, eagle-eyed fans were quick to uncover what they saw as a troubling coincidence. The neighborhood Kirsten and Harper would soon call home was shockingly close to where Brandon Barish and his new wife had just purchased a house for their own growing family. Brandon, who is now a father to a young son and reportedly enjoying a period of professional and personal stability, had moved into the secluded Tennessee estate to enjoy a quieter, more private life. That Kirsten's move would place her within minutes of her ex-husband's new home struck many as more than coincidence, it struck them as a calculated maneuver. Speculation ramped up almost immediately. Gossip blogs and entertainment insiders began dissecting the relationship between Kirsten and Brandon post-divorce, which until now had always been publicly described as amicable and cooperative for the sake of Harper. Yet those following the couple closely noted subtle signs of lingering emotional complexity. Paparazzi photos from public events, where Harper was present alongside both parents, occasionally captured Kirsten's guarded expressions whenever Brandon arrived hand-in-hand with his new wife. Media outlets began questioning whether Kirsten had truly moved on emotionally, or whether she had masked unresolved resentment under the veneer of peaceful co-parenting. Adding fuel to the fire, photos surfaced of Kirsten routinely taking Harper to school and extracurricular activities alone, without any apparent support or visible presence from Brandon. This led some to question the authenticity of their co-parenting harmony, suggesting that it was more of a public relations narrative than a lived reality. Whispers grew louder that perhaps Kirsten had never fully accepted Brandon's new life. And that relocating to Tennessee might have been her way of staying close, if not physically entwined, then at least emotionally within proximity of his new chapter. Tension reached a fever pitch when a fan, commenting directly under Kirsten's Instagram post, accused her of using Harper as a pawn to lure Brandon away from his current life and manipulate him into following her across state lines. The accusation was biting, personal, and stoked outrage in both supporters and critics. Kirsten didn't hesitate in her response. In a rare and fiery clapback, she insisted that the move had been thoroughly discussed with Brandon as early as January, and that no changes were being made without his full consent. She reaffirmed that both parents were committed to doing what was best for Harper and condemned any implication that she would ever weaponize her daughter to interfere with Brandon's marriage or career. Yet despite Kirsten's impassioned denial, Brandon's silence in the face of the controversy only intensified the debate. He did not comment publicly, nor did he confirm or deny his involvement in the relocation agreement. In fact, what alarmed fans even more was Brandon's recent decision to back out of a long-term television role in California. Though the official reason cited was a desire to prioritize family, the timing coincided almost too perfectly with Kirsten's announcement, leading many to believe that he was subtly making arrangements to be closer to Harper. One anonymous industry insider even claimed that Brandon was caught in a quiet storm between maintaining peace with his new wife and preserving his bond with his daughter, an emotional tightrope that demanded careful, if painful, compromise. The entire ordeal has left fans divided. Some view Kirsten as a mother under siege, unfairly maligned for trying to give her daughter the most stable upbringing possible. Others suspect something more layered, possibly even manipulative, beneath her polished social media presence. The proximity of her new home to Brandon's, the timing of both their life decisions, and the carefully worded responses online only further the idea that more is happening behind the scenes than either party is willing to publicly admit. Further complicating matters is the impact of Kirsten's departure on General Hospital. With Nicole Paggi temporarily stepping into the role of Maxie Jones, some viewers have expressed frustration and sadness, feeling that Kirsten's absence diminishes the emotional depth of ongoing storylines. Kirsten has promised to return for a short stint in mid-August, but even that appearance now feels overshadowed by the real-life drama unfolding just beyond the studio walls. Rumors have swirled that GH producers are quietly developing an exit arc for Maxie, allowing Kirsten the space to settle into her new life in Tennessee, while also preparing the audience for the possible long-term absence of a legacy character. All of this underscores a sobering truth about the collision between public figures and private lives. Even when actors attempt to draw boundaries, the nature of fame, fan obsession, and internet speculation often make such boundaries impossible to maintain. In Kirsten Storms' case, a personal move meant to nurture her child has erupted into a cultural microdrama, complete with assumptions, accusations, and unanswered questions. As the dust continues to swirl, fans, reporters, and insiders alike are left wondering. Is this a simple case of misunderstood motives, or the quiet unraveling of a much deeper, more personal feud? Until Brandon breaks his silence or the couple jointly clarifies their arrangement, speculation is unlikely to fade. For now, Kirsten remains in Tennessee with Harper, navigating the demands of motherhood while under a microscope she never asked for. What began as a hopeful new chapter has instead become a cautionary tale in the complexities of shared parenthood, personal reinvention, and the unrelenting gaze of the public eye. While the public continues to debate the true motivations behind Kirsten Storms' sudden relocation to Tennessee, the production team behind General Hospital has been left scrambling to manage the vacuum left by her unexpected departure. For nearly 2 decades, Kirsten's portrayal of Maxie Jones has been one of the emotional cornerstones of the show, a complex, layered character whose storylines have often been at the heart of GH's most dramatic arcs. The idea of Maxie disappearing, even temporarily, has unsettled both fans and the creative forces working behind the scenes. In a swift and strategic move, the showrunners introduced Nicole Paggi as a temporary replacement for Maxie in the July 3rd episode, a decision that was met with both cautious optimism and vocal criticism. While Paggi is a seasoned actress with respectable credentials, the emotional weight of stepping into a role so deeply associated with Kirsten Storms is a monumental task. For longtime fans, Kirsten is Maxie. Her voice, her expressions, her history with other characters. These elements are not easily replicated or replaced, no matter how talented a newcomer might be. The decision to recast Maxie, even on a short-term basis, was undoubtedly born out of necessity. Ongoing storylines required continuity, and delaying production to accommodate Kirsten's indefinite absence simply wasn't feasible. However, many viewers have interpreted the sudden recasting as a sign of underlying tension between Storms and the producers. Some fans speculate that Kirsten's decision to leave came at a critical moment in the show's seasonal arc, possibly disrupting long-laid plot developments. Her abrupt exit has fueled theories that she may have used her influence, or emotional leverage related to her popularity with fans, as a way to pressure the show into restructuring her workload or negotiating new terms. Others go a step further, suggesting that her departure was not solely for personal reasons, but perhaps the culmination of deeper, ongoing creative disagreements. Rumors persist that Kirsten had grown increasingly dissatisfied with the direction of her character's storyline in recent months. Insiders whisper of script revisions that Kirsten allegedly resisted, of production meetings where her concerns were raised but not addressed to her satisfaction. While these accounts remain unverified, they've nonetheless fanned the flames of speculation that there may be more than meets the eye behind her relocation. As the August 18th return date approaches, fans find themselves caught between hope and uncertainty. Kirsten had initially framed her comeback as a brief but meaningful return, yet the tone of her recent social media posts has left many uneasy. Her language has become more vague, her assurances more tempered. Where she once expressed clear excitement about revisiting the role, her latest updates feel more like farewells in disguise, bittersweet acknowledgments of an era that might be ending. According to several unconfirmed leaks from the production team, General Hospital may already be drafting long-term exit strategies for Maxie's character. These plans allegedly include having Maxie leave town indefinitely, to pursue a new opportunity or to care for a family member off-screen. Such a narrative device would provide an elegant and flexible exit, one that keeps the door open for a future return while also freeing up narrative space for new characters. This potential pivot comes at a time when GH is reportedly seeking to freshen its cast lineup, aiming to attract younger audiences with fresh faces and updated story arcs. This initiative toward rejuvenation has already begun to take shape in subtle ways. More focus on new couples, the introduction of previously unseen family members of legacy characters, and casting calls for actors in their 20s and early 30s. If Maxie's departure is indeed part of this broader transition, it could mark the end of an era for longtime viewers and the beginning of a new creative direction for the series. Still, the show risks alienating a substantial portion of its loyal fanbase. Maxie has not only been a fixture of Port Charles but a generational anchor for audiences who have followed her journey since her turbulent teenage years. Removing her from the canvas, or replacing her long-term, could lead to backlash that undermines the very growth GH is aiming for. For now, all eyes remain fixed on the week of August 18th. Will Kirsten's return be a triumphant resurgence, reaffirming her place in the GH family? Or will it serve as a quiet farewell, a final chapter in a storied career with the show? Her brief reappearance could be used to tie up loose ends, set the stage for a character exit, or even test the waters for a permanent replacement like Paggy. In the meantime, the uncertainty around Kirsten's future with General Hospital remains emblematic of a larger dilemma facing many long-running soaps: how to evolve with time while honoring legacy. The tension between nostalgia and innovation is ever present, and decisions like this, recasting beloved characters, writing off long-standing roles, must walk a tightrope between progress and preservation. Whether Kirsten's departure is temporary or permanent, her absence has already left a noticeable void. And if her brief return proves to be a farewell, fans will not only be mourning the loss of Maxie, but the slow fading of an era that defined General Hospital for a generation. As of now, the swirling controversy surrounding Kirsten Storms' relocation and the ongoing discourse about her intentions remains without definitive resolution. The public continues to be split, with opinion forming not only in fan forums and entertainment news outlets, but also across broader social media platforms, where speculation and personal interpretation often take precedence over verified fact. Kirsten's decision to leave General Hospital, a role and community she's been closely tied to for nearly 2 decades, and move with her daughter Harper from Los Angeles to Tennessee, may have been presented as a personal, private family decision, but in a world where every celebrity move is dissected, nothing remains truly private. Supporters of Kirsten Storms have come out strongly in her defense. To them, she represents the image of a modern, conscientious mother who is doing everything she can to ensure her child grows up in an environment removed from the harsh glare of Hollywood. They believe her when she says that the move was planned with Brandon Barish, her ex-husband and the father of Harper, and that it was motivated solely by Harper's needs. For these fans, the narrative is one of selfless maternal sacrifice. Kirsten giving up her place on a hit daytime soap, putting her career on hold, and embracing a quieter life for the benefit of her daughter's emotional and psychological well-being. These defenders also point to Kirsten's long-standing reputation within the industry. She has consistently been regarded as professional, humble, and deeply committed to her craft. While she's had health setbacks in the past, she's never been embroiled in the kind of salacious scandal that regularly consumes other celebrities. Her interactions with fans are warm and thoughtful. She's not known for dramatics or media manipulation. So for many, the idea that she would use her child as a pawn in a bitter co-parenting game is unthinkable. To them, Kirsten is simply a woman making an impossible choice between her career and her child's best interests. But not everyone sees it that way. Her critics, and they are becoming increasingly vocal, view the situation through a far more skeptical lens. They find it difficult to believe that the proximity of her new home to Brandon's was coincidental, especially considering the fact that Brandon had only recently relocated to the area with his new wife and infant son. The timing, for them, is suspect. And the lack of clarity in public statements. Vague phrasing, the absence of a joint statement from both parents, and Brandon's ongoing silence, only fuels their doubts. Critics argue that if the move was truly collaborative, Brandon would have at least confirmed it publicly. His refusal to comment, combined with his sudden withdrawal from a long-term television opportunity in California, raises questions about whether he may have been coerced, directly or indirectly, into following Kirsten and Harper to Tennessee. Was it guilt, fear of legal battles, or pressure to preserve a fragile parenting dynamic that prompted his retreat from Hollywood? These are the kinds of questions that have ignited endless theories online. Moreover, the narrative that Kirsten may be struggling emotionally with Brandon's new family has gained traction among some gossip blogs and tabloid commentators. These sources suggest that Kirsten has not fully processed the reality of Brandon's remarriage and that the move could be an unconscious, or even conscious, attempt to remain part of his life, even if under the guise of shared parenting. There have even been unverified reports that tension has been brewing between Kirsten and Brandon's new wife behind the scenes, particularly over parenting boundaries and Harper's emotional exposure to this blended family dynamic. All of this has thrust their daughter Harper into an uncomfortable spotlight. Although both parents have pledged to protect her privacy, Harper's name now sits at the center of every discussion. Fans debate whether she's truly benefiting from the move or whether she's being tugged back and forth between two very different lives. There's also growing concern over the psychological implications of being caught in such a public tug-of-war. She's no longer just a child living her life. She's become a symbol in a much larger debate about co-parenting, celebrity pressure, and the limits of privacy in an increasingly exposed digital age. What's particularly unsettling is how Harper has become a narrative device in this unfolding drama, despite her inability to speak for herself. She is now perceived through the interpretations and projections of adults, strangers, really, who claim to know what's best for her based on their feelings toward her mother or father. It's a disturbing reminder of how celebrity children often have their autonomy erased by the sheer force of public interest. Adding to the unease is the eerie silence from General Hospital. While they have moved quickly to recast Maxie Jones temporarily, the show has remained tight-lipped about long-term plans. Behind the scenes, there are whispers that Kirsten's exit may not be as temporary as originally suggested. Some crew members, according to reports from industry insiders, have begun quietly preparing storylines that could accommodate Maxie's absence for an extended period, or phase the character out altogether. There are rumors that Kirsten's brief return in August might serve as narrative closure, not as a prelude to re-entry. If this is indeed the end of Kirsten Storms' era on General Hospital, it would represent the loss of not only a beloved character but a pillar of continuity for the show. Maxie has been central to so many of the show's most memorable arcs, her relationships, her personal growth, her family tragedies, her fierce loyalty. Losing Maxie would not simply be a shift in casting, it would be an emotional rupture, especially for longtime viewers who have grown with the character. Yet, for all the sadness and controversy, what remains most compelling about this entire saga is how emblematic it is of the human condition under the microscope of fame. This is not just a story about an actress leaving a television show. It's a story about motherhood, about sacrifice, about unresolved wounds and the blurry line between professional responsibility and personal evolution. It's a story about how women in the public eye are scrutinized in ways that men often are not, every choice second-guessed, every motive analyzed, every silence interpreted as guilt. And more than anything, it's a story about uncertainty. Because as of now, the public doesn't know the full truth. They may never know. Unless both Kirsten and Brandon release a joint statement, one that is honest, transparent, and unified, the speculation will continue. Until then, this saga will remain a puzzle with missing pieces, a story half told through posts, photos, casting decisions, and strategic silences. Perhaps, in the end, that is what makes this entire situation so absorbing. It has all the makings of a soap opera itself. A beloved heroine caught in a swirl of controversy, a complex ex with a new family, a vulnerable child in the center, and a public divided between sympathy and suspicion.